The only thing with you is you're a bit too weedy and you're a terror for the drink and you have doubts about Catholicism. Apart from that, you're a fine priest.
Playwright Martin McDonagh is here. In the last 5 years, he has emerged as one of Britain's most acclaimed playwrights. 2 years ago, he matched Shakespeare's record when 4 of his plays ran concurrently on London's West End. Last season, his first Broadway play, The Beauty Queen of Leenane, was nominated for 6 Tony Awards, including Best Play. His most recent production, The Lonesome West, opened on Broadway last month, and here is a clip.
The fella of Alias Smith and Jones.
It's the fella of Alias Smith and Jones in hell.
He is. Father West was telling.
The blonde one?
No, the other one.
Oh, he was good, the other
He
one.
was the best one.
Ah, sure. It's always the best ones go to hell. Me, probably straight to heaven I'll go, even though I blew the head off poor Dad. So long as I go confessing to it anyways. But that's the good thing about being Catholic. You can shoot your dad in the head and it doesn't even matter at all.
Well, it matters a little bit.
Welcome to the broadcast. It's great to have you here.
Thank
We're
you,
looking
John.
at this clip, and you and I both said, you know, what I was saying, how great it is to be able to put words in actors' mouths, and you said it's even better to have an actor take it to another place.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you a little bit humble too, because if you think you're the bee's knees, and they go and prove that without them you're nothing really. That was a great lesson for me, especially with Lonesome West. These are the original cast from like about 2 years ago in Ireland, and so we've been like through thick and thin and good times and bad times with this play. And like even in rehearsals, I learned so much from each of the actors that took the play onto a whole new level for me.
Is it an easy answer as to why everything you seem to write is about rural Ireland?
No, well, pretty easy. It's just the first stories that not so much as I just happened to choose these as the first stories I kind of tried to write. Or these were the first ones that actually seemed to work well for me, because I was trying to write stuff. I'm from London, so and I grew up there, but my parents are both Irish. So I know London more than I do rural Ireland. But
then why not set it in London? I mean, what caused you to set it in rural Ireland?
I felt the plays I was writing in London were just too close to home, and if you're writing something that's too true, or you feel is not too true, but too based upon your own life or what's happening around you, the possibilities for story and where a story can go can be lost. So displacing it just a little bit to a place I did know somewhat, and I've gotten to know a lot more in the last few years. It just helped let the stories evolve and let the characters go to a place that they wouldn't have done if I'd kept them in London.
In a sense, but what you're saying is if you kept it in London, you would have been, in a sense, hemmed in by reality, because you might not have given as much freedom to the characters because you knew too much.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I could have set a play like this about 2 kind of sparring brothers and the Catholic priest who tries to kind of save their souls. I mean, especially just the Catholic sense is much more pressing and urgent in an Irish context and in a rural Irish context too. In London, there isn't too much of that, you know.
Did you set out to write a trilogy?
No, I think, but strangely enough, I wrote Lonesome West first, or the first version of it. And then and it seemed to work okay, although it wasn't quite right. And then I wanted to keep that same kind of idiom going, the kind of strangely heightened Irish kind of dialogue for the next play, and then it just seemed to follow on to continue on for a third story, because the first 2 parts were both set in the same town, and it just seemed like a good idea to paint a bigger picture with the 3 plays.
Did you finish them before any of them were staged?
Yeah, they were all done. Probably I finished them about 95, maybe. Yeah, late 95, I think. And Beauty Queen was the first part, and that wasn't performed until about 96, I think.
If you look at the 3 of them, is there a thematic sort of
No, I was just trying to...
centrality?
Yeah, in some ways, I think it's...
Loneliness or...
Loneliness, sibling rivalry, sibling love and hatred, and the breakdown maybe of a society, especially in a kind of religious context too. But I was just trying to also make a kind of a sweep of a town, you know, just like a little sketch of a place, you know. And it was just interesting for me to have like offstage characters from the first play become the main characters for the next, and so on, and to have events or twists and turns in the plot of the third play already told to the audience in the first, and see if they remember them from, you know, have a set up for 2 plays beforehand instead of a scene beforehand. It's just kind of interesting to play around with that, with a broader kind of canvas, I suppose.
Have you, I mean, having read something about you, what seems to, there doesn't seem to be this driving, I mean, it's almost like you're a reluctant playwright.
I was, to begin with, for sure. It seemed like the last recourse of the writing scoundrel, maybe. I always preferred films, and even though I could never do them, I preferred novels and short stories. But
So the last thing.
This is the last thing I wanted to do. But I was always kind of good with dialogue, and I liked telling stories, and I liked characters. And I think so long as you've got those 3, I think plays are the easiest thing to do. Because with films, I still find it hard to have like 100 scenes in a story, whereas plays is like you can cut it into 6 or 8 or whatever, and you can have, you know, dialogue that goes on for 8 pages, whereas in film it's like half a page if you're lucky. So yeah, but now I was never brought up. My parents never brought me to see plays, and I never really especially wanted to anyway, unless there was a film star in them. The first play I ever saw was only because Al Pacino was in it. Yeah. But it turned out to be still, it's my the favourite play I've seen. It was American Buffalo by
David Mamet,
in London. And I didn't really, so I was just going to see Pacino because I loved him from his film work. And but it kind of opened me up my eyes to the fact that there are good playwrights and plays out there. Up until that point, I thought it was just some kind of middle-class kind of sport that wasn't quite for me, you know.
Have you met Pacino?
I met him briefly just before all this started, in about 96 or so, just for a few minutes, and he was a really nice guy.
And Mamet?
No, never met David.
But he's one of the several playwrights you most admire.
Yeah, him and Pinter probably.
Harold Pinter.
Yeah, are the 2 who probably had the most effect on the kind of way I wanted to write, which was with some kind of strangely heightened dialogue style. And
what do you mean by that strangely heightened dialogue style?
A dialogue that kind of captures the way we really speak through its oddness. I find it hard to explain, but I think if we wrote down verbatim everything that we say on a day-to-day basis, it would look crazy. It looked like hieroglyphics.
You're right. You're right.
So, and it's very hard to do that in a play. It would be impossible to do something verbatim, but to capture the sense of that madness of speech through something a little less mad is what they kind of taught me, and what I've tried to capture a little bit.
With all of this sort of attention for the playwrights and for the plays and for you as a playwright, I mean, do you have this great sense of adventure that life is at your feet now? And here's a chance for you to, you know, you've gotten at least an important place to stand to go do the things that...
Yeah, I mean, that is the sole great thing. I mean, not the sole great thing about it, but having I always wanted to make at least one good film, or one great film, you know, to attempt to. And now I feel like I'm in a position where, you know, people will talk to me about trying to do that. That's the great thing. But I was always kind of a shy kind of kid, so kind of the attention and this kind of stuff is, as I said, kind of nerve-wracking for me. You know, it's not something I think I'll ever feel comfortable with. But you live with it, and you go on. And just the...
you wouldn't trade it in?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I always had probably the reason I started to write in the first place was a morbid fear of a 9-to-5 office job or something, which was probably all that was open to me as a young school leaver. Or just unemployment for ages. I was unemployed for like 3 or 5 years.
What did you do?
Read and write, you know.
And how did you survive?
Just welfare kind of stuff, and took jobs in between, you know, to get the state off my back. But it's pretty. I mean, it kind of paid off for me, you know, and I'm paying them back in taxes now. So for everything I stole from the state over the last 20 years.
So whatever risk they took with you is paid off.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was the kind of a mutually beneficial kind of deal.
Did you always have confidence, though? Was there always part of your makeup that was an element? I mean, of sense that I'm going to do this, and I can make it, and I can write, and I know it's good. I might not find whatever.
No, but not at the start. But I kept trying and trying, and I don't know what kept me going in those dark days. But it just, I think each time I wrote something, and it seemed to get better, or I seemed to realize the mistakes of the first one or the previous one, I realized something good was happening, I guess. And it took me like maybe 2 or 3 years of writing real trash, terrible, you know, just awful stuff before I started getting to a place where I felt comfortable and good about the stuff I was writing.
Was that what some novelists will tell me is like finding your voice? It was finding one voice, but I hope I'll have
Lots of
others, yeah. But it was that, and just going back to the confidence thing, I think once you do get to a place where you've realized how crap your stuff was, and how better it's gotten, and how much better it is than most of the crap that's around, that is getting put on stage or TV or wherever else. That kind of bred a confidence in me, maybe, to realize that this is good and someday it will be recognized, maybe. I just didn't realize it would be recognized so quickly.
Are you going to write another play?
Yeah, I mean, I've got like a backlog of 4 that still haven't been. It was through the period when I was writing quite quickly. And,
prolific.
Yeah.
You have 4 that have not yet been produced anywhere.
Yeah, but one of them isn't very good. So
that was my very next question. I mean, of the 4, of the 3, one's not so good.
Well, yeah, one of them I might turn into a film because it has different elements.
It's better suited for film.
It could be, yeah.
And the other 3, are they as good as Lonesome West, or are they as good as Lenane?
I think one is better.
Better?
Yeah, I think so. But but better in my terms. It kind of captures more of what I was trying to capture in theatre in the first place.
You came closer to achieving your goal.
Yeah, and I think so. It might not be better in critical terms or whatever else, but for me personally, I think there is one. Although I reread it a couple of months ago and it wasn't so.
Wasn't it good?
You know when you've written something like a couple of years ago and then you reread it and all this time you've been thinking this is great.
Yeah.
And then you.
Then you look at it a year later and you say, what was I thinking about?
Yeah. Politely, I think it'll need a rewrite. But no, I think of the ones that I think Lonesome is also the closest. It's kind of a kindred spirit to that one too. It's kind of what I was trying to achieve.
Kindred spirit in
the sense that I feel like I've achieved on stage what I set out to, what I would like to go to see as an audience member.
Is it also set in Ireland?
Yeah, that one is set on one of the Aran Islands, just off the coast of Galway. But I've got a couple that aren't. I've got one that's set in Coney Island too.
Coney Island?
Yeah, so maybe that will be done over here at some point. But I think I'd rather come in quietly with that one. Maybe.
So you'll start in London, or what do you mean,
maybe even here. I mean, maybe give it a false name and see if somebody accepts it as an American.
Don't write it under your own name. Come in with a pseudonym?
Possibly, but it might be hard to get away with it.
No, I don't think you're going to do that.
But it'd be an interesting game to play, I think.
Those who say that Lonesome West takes too much from Beauty Queen of Lenane, you say what? Shut up.
Yeah, more than that. No, I see them as kind of like a brother and sister kind of play. You know, Beauty Queen's more of the mother-daughter kind of.
Oh yeah, exactly.
The hatred,
right.
and this is more of the brothers.
So it's different characters exploring this.
Yeah, in some ways.
In the same place, same.
Just one. I think one play's explored in a kind of female sense, and one's explored in a male sense. In Beauty Queen, I think the territory, the violence and the darkness is more kind of psychological. It's a psychological game. I'm not necessarily saying that's more of a female thing, but it was interesting to kind of explore that. In the Lonesome West, it's more of a physical fisticuffs kind of stuff, which I think is more of a male kind of terrain. And although, of course, in some senses, the psychological is the more harmful and more dangerous.
Was one harder to write than the other? I mean, was it any harder for you to write in the female characters?
No, in fact, I'd written kind of like a version of this and two other plays, which are almost all male characters. And it was almost like, I think somebody actually dared me. They said, you can't write for women. So I thought, okay, let's have a try.
Let's have a try.
Which is interesting, because I wanted to, in Beauty Queen, I guess, to, I, as much as any actress, I can't stand to see badly written female characters on stage. So I wanted to write a couple of female characters who are as tough as anybody in a Mamet play or a Pinter play, you know, who had as much, whatever, you know, gusto and as much range for, you know.
I once read where you said to young, it's another one of those, you know. You can take this back if you'd like to. You said this to young playwrights: don't go see a lot of plays. Not young playwrights, young potential playwrights.
Yeah.
Don't go see a lot of plays. Go do something else.
Yeah, go live, I guess.
Yeah, go live, right. Go get a life.
Yeah, get a life. No, but more than that, it was don't listen to anybody who tells you how to write a play, would be more my advice. Don't listen to any advice at all, because, as you said before, it's not knowing how to do something is going to help you achieve something much more interesting than learning the rules and following them, I guess. You know.
It's great to have you here.
Oh, thanks for having me, Charlie.
Come back anytime. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Martin McDonagh, The Lonesome West opened on Broadway April 27th. We'll be right back. Stay with us.